We had a bit of a snoozer last night there with Broncos Saints. I want to say that it was a battle between two teams, but it was really a battle between two things or people. You and the TV. That was a really rough game. If you were not, if you did not have any sort of fantasy football implications with it, or if you had no vested interest in the team, there was really no reason to stick to the end. But 33 to 10 in favor of the Broncos. Look, the Saints started off the season 2-0. They look like the most dominant team in football. One of those teams they ended up beating bad on the road was Dallas. And, this is kind of the whole, let's just kind of wait to see how the whole season kind of shakes out. Turns out, Cowboys, really not that good of a team. Really not that good of a team, especially not at home. So I like where the Broncos are going, but I mean, the Saints have got to start selling off pieces like Cam Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu, right?
What about Marshawn Lattimore? That's a great corner that I've heard being thrown around. And also, their hottest offensive piece, Alvin Kamara. Who knows what you could bring in for him? The running back game is it's walking a thin line with running backs because you still got these elite running backs out here like Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, who are putting up the numbers. And you have these young rookies like Chase Brown out here doing things. It's so crazy. Oh, and Kareem Hunt, shout out to him, man. Welcome back. It's so crazy with the running back room. But I focused Kamara because after that game, he met out with Sean Payton on the field and gave him a hug. And you know what he said to Sean? Come get me. Come get me. Alvin Kamara, Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton. Is anybody stopping that offense?
I don't know if I'm willing to go that far with it, but I mean, look, Bo Nix has played really well this year, and I think that if he would have came out in a few different other draft classes, there's a real argument that we'd be talking about him a lot more. Not to pick on the Malik Willis and Desmond Ritter one where we didn't have anybody, or even if he came out this upcoming year where, we're expecting, Shadur Sanders to be a big name, maybe Quinn Ewers, but there's not a lot of guys that we're really expecting to be really good players. And even Shadur Sanders, where I think he should be the number one overall pick, I certainly have my reservations on character with him. Bo would easily be the top rookie in the draft class next year. I think just he's kind of fallen victim. That's what I'm trying to say to the draft class, and I'm all here for it. Saints, they went back to the Aints, and I do want to rescind my apology. I apologized to Dennis Allen a few weeks back during that 2-0 video. I said, hey, man, I had said before the season that you're going to be one of the first head coaches fired and that you didn't know what you're doing. I'm sorry. You clearly know what you're doing. I see the direction. Saints could definitely be a playoff team. I'd like to rescind that statement. You don't know what you're doing. You will be one of the first head coaches fired and will probably be in the middle of this season. And I do not see the direction. When you're a defensive head coach and the defensive side is arguably the worst side of your team, yeah, you actually don't serve any purpose. You'll be gone. Patriots, Jags. Speaking of battle between a human being and their TV trying to keep this game on, this one is going to be going on there in England, UK version. I think there's a lot of questions that Jacksonville has to answer here. One question that people have coming into this game is this Doug Peterson's last game coaching there for Jacksonville? Do you guys think that this is his last game? If so, does that mean they're losing, or what are we feeling with this game?
I do think it's his last game. I think they're losing this one in London. We didn't get to see much from New England with Drake May's debut. He had a few highlights, but the Texans pretty much controlled that whole game. But I just like them in this matchup. I don't know why. New England's one of those teams you can never rule out. So, yeah, give me the Patriots over Jacksonville and London, and Doug Peterson gets fired.
Then they go on a bye and then play Houston. Well, they just paid him too. You know that's there's a few quarterbacks that are overpaid. Dak, I think, is the best example of the overpaid stuff, but you have to make it work. So even if you think that Trevor Lawrence is taking a step back, you as an ownership group have decided I'm going to invest $55 million plus a year to one player for 5 years. Yeah, you got to find a way to make it work. Now there are limitations to that. If you previously had 25 civil lawsuits go against you, oh yeah, and you're so bad, we're talking more about how bad you are as a player than a person. Yeah, I don't think you have to watch how that one plays out anymore. I think that all options have already been exhausted. Um, but you have to find a way to make it work with Trevor, even if you think that Hughes regressed, which I don't even think that there's an argument for that anymore. I do think Jacksonville takes the game though. I don't think they win by more than 6.5, which last time I checked was the spread here for the game. It's a little disrespectful to how well I thought Drake May looked last week. Um, but Jacksonville, they've already been over there. They play well over there normally. I know they lost last week. They did lose to Caleb Williams, who Josiah, I'm going to say, is probably going to be a fan of here within about like 3 or 4 weeks. But we'll see. Outside of that, Jacksonville, they are the desperate team, and like you said, Tyler, there's not a lot of W's on their schedule moving forward. They know they have to get this week at least. It's gonna be a little tough though if they're not gonna have ETN. So we'll see what old Tank ends up doing. Bengals at Browns. Um, Bengals still a super desperate team for a win. Um, I believe that the odds it goes 20% chance to make the playoffs if you move to 3-4, and it's like a 6.5 chance to make the playoffs historically if you're 2-5. So it's a pretty big swing here for the Bengals. The Browns just traded Amari Cooper, getting Nick Chubb back. They still had Deshaun Watson at quarterback, but Browns have owned the Bengals, more so specifically Joe Burrow. Where are we leaning here on this game?
Cleveland's got this game all day. They're going to keep Joe Burrow in check like they always do. It's the Nick Chubb return game. Yeah, Amari's gone, but they got Jerry Jeudy. And statistically, Deshaun Watson in the last 3 years with Cleveland has played better against any AFC North team than he has the entire rest of the NFL. Statistically, you can't rule Watson out in these division games. You can't rule the Browns out in these division games, who have made the Bengals their bitch for the last probably 6, 7 years. He's going to be their whole offense. That's why he is going to be worth starting, because you never go with what the main crowd says. There's always that player that booms or bust. He's going to be a boom against a very weak Bengals defense in Cleveland, might I add. His return
Yes.
game, you know he's been waiting for this for a whole season. He's ready to roll, and he will roll. But it's the Bengals, man, and the Bengals are going to bungle to the Browns, the Brownies. History. Like it's like how Miami can never ever 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 beat Buffalo. the Bengals, especially Joe Burrow, seems to never, ever, 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 ever be able to beat Cleveland. I've been on the Bengals side of this game for a long time now. It's time to give Cleveland their flowers.
And honestly, you can pick Cleveland. Actually, you know what? They're your Cleveland Browns. We'll just say moving forward here throughout the rest of the season, they're your Browns. I there's a few games on here where I feel like it's actually a pretty obvious pick. And this is one of them. I believe me, I know how bad the Bengals have played against the Browns with Joe Burrow at quarterback. The Browns are so bad. Like they are the first team in NFL history to not top, or sorry, fourth team in NFL history to not top 300 total offensive yards or score 25 points. That's bad, dude. I don't care how bad the defense is for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow could be throwing with his left hand. There is no way that the Bengals are coming away with the loss. I'm not saying that this means that the Bengals are making the playoffs. But the game against the Giants, I did not see a way that we were losing that game. And it's the same way here with the Browns, where they're the one division opponent I feel pretty confident we're sweeping. They got a bench Deshaun, man. Um, ooh, okay. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about this Lions Vikings game. That's a really good 1 o'clock window. I believe that's on Fox too. Um, Minnesota coming off the bye, 5-0. Detroit coming off a big win there against Dallas last week. Lost Aiden Hutchinson, so this is the first game since. Where are we on this game?
Detroit is the better football team, the better coach, the better roster, the better everything. Minnesota has played incredible, but there is such a thing as post-bye fatigue. And a team that's 5-0 had their bye week really early. I just don't think they're going to be out coming on all cylinders. The Lions had an utter dominating performance against the Cowboys. It is the Cowboys, but they got their licks in after that game a few years back last year in Dallas. So I just think Detroit's the better team. I think right now, I was talking about this earlier this week, they might be the Super Bowl favorites out of the NFC. So give me Detroit.
Oh, shoot. Damn. Yeah, I mean they called it a hit too. I wasn't in it. Rams. They're supposed to get Cooper Cup back. There's a reason why they call me the sports messiah. When people zig, I zag. I hold out my hand and I say, walk with me. And it's up to you, really, to grab onto my hand or not. The Vikings are winning this game. Um, Coming off the bye with an offensive head coach going up against a Lions team that is feeling themselves right now. Clearly, there was a bit of a somber mood there, hearing about Hutchinson and how he's not going to be back for the rest of the season. There's not the level of urgency, I guess, that I thought that you would end up having after losing Hutchinson. I mean, if you look at the Bills this past week, they barely squeaked by against the Jets, and they're like, yeah, we should have won by a little bit more than that. We're going to go out there and go get Amari Cooper. The Lions could have made a similar type of move. The fact that in the NFC North they decided to stand pat, I think that they kind of need a kick to the nuts, and maybe losing Hutchinson wasn't it. The pass rush there for Brian Flores, I want to stick on that as well. The defensive side there for Minnesota has been firing all season long, and it's been led by the fact that the pass rush has just been getting there consistently with four guys. Conversely, there with the Lions, the pass rush was normally just made up there with Hutchinson, and he was actually the Lions secondary per PFF does not grade very well if you take PFF scores into account at all. So Hutchinson has been kind of hiding for some of the deficiencies there in the secondary. I think this is a huge Justin Jefferson game. Probably goes for over 150 yards, maybe a score or two. This might be a Jordan Addison type of game as well. With or without Aaron Jones, they just got Cam Akers. I'm hammering the Vikings here to end up winning by a touchdown. Like I said, I'm just holding out my hand. Walk with me. Um, so Texans Packers, also known as C.J. Stroud at Jordan Love. That's a great ass quarterback competition. I'm really glad that we get to watch this one here. Again, another game here in the 1 o'clock window that's looking really solid. Um, the Texans are going to be out, going to be without Nico Collins here still for a little bit. Kind of sucks for them. Packers starting to get a little bit more healthy, coming off the big win there last week against Arizona. Where are we at on this game?
Give me the Packers in this one. The Texans are due a loss. This is a trap game. I think they're overlooking their opponent. The Packers are a very good 4-2. This is a Jordan Love game. This is a Jordan Love legacy game. They said, man, they were winning with Malik Willis. Now they're losing with Jordan Love. Well, not anymore. They're showing you why it's important to get a young quarterback and have him sit behind a great veteran for years. And it's going to be for moments like these. When push comes to shove, I think Love's going to answer the call in this game where Stroud won't. Give me the Packers. The Ravens end up losing the Raiders, so I don't think there's a statute of limitations here on taking shits here on teams. But I kind of sided with you here on the Packers. Very quietly, CJ Stroud is kind of having a rough season.
Like for him having all the weapons there around him at the receiver position, he's got Dalton Schultz there at tight end, a good running back. I know that he was out, but again, they just had Cam Akers. Stroud's turnovers, it's almost like him and Josh Allen switch bodies. Allen hasn't thrown any, and he's used to the turnover prone games. He hasn't had a turnover this season. Conversely, that does kind of against him. Okay, the last time I checked, it was like 13 total touchdowns, and maybe it was. That's crazy. He's playing at like a Joe Burrow level right now. Sorry, Josiah, you'll understand it at some point. That's crazy. But CJ Stroud, he's had a lot of turnovers this year. And I don't think that you can give this Green Bay offense multiple opportunities to come back. Um, I'm not losing hope in Houston by any stretch, but this is a game that I kind of expect Green Bay to end up winning. That it's on the injury report too. All right, eyesores galore. Eyesores galore. Miami Dolphins at the Colts. Josh, what are you talking about? Eyesore. Joe Flacco's playing this week. No, he's not. No, he is not. You are going to be getting the 9 for 20 for 350 passing yards. Anthony Richardson playing for the Colts this week. Without Jonathan Taylor, and yes, New Puntley's still playing. So I mean, hey, no offense, Dolphins fans. I'm sure that you stopped watching as well. Have not been able to watch it since Tua went down. Colts. If I wanted to watch your quarterback, I would just have to turn on a Tennessee Titans game. But what are you guys thinking about this one?
This one belongs to the Colts. Miami still doesn't have Tua. They've been statistically one of the worst teams this season. Anthony Richardson has stepped back in the lineup. I think he's going to have a good game. Jonathan Taylor's out. That's going to hurt them. But they also got Pittman Jr. back, and you guys saw how big of a benefit that was in last week's game. This game's at Lucas Oil. I like the Colts.
Yeah, I'm picking the Colts, and I'm not watching the game either. So it'll be a good Sunday for me. Titans, Titans, Bills, man. This has got bounce back game. This has got Amari Cooper 2 touchdowns written all over it. Bills by 50.
Bills by 50.
But if D Hop is available, I mean, just since we're throwing out washed up receivers, is To available? Randy Moss, is he also available on the trade market? I just hey, I mean D Hop. I mean he hasn't been, and we talked about it last year when he was leaving Arizona. He was closer to Julio Jones, and he went to the exact same team that Julio Jones ended up having his second team with. Um, so I don't fully. I guess I don't know where there is a need for him. Yeah, that yeah. Oh, dude, that was a beautiful throw too. I love Kyler. DeMar Hamlin wasn't there, man. He would have broke that play up. He would have stopped that play like, well, never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Exactly. See, you're getting it. Oh, whoa, yes. Hey, the Bills, I mean, he's playing so well. The Bills apparently are looking for safety help, so that's interesting. Um, yeah, he did. Mm. Well, the this next one, I might I want to go first on this one at least, because I feel like I know where you guys are gonna go. I'm going Giants to win this game between the Eagles and the Giants. Um, I mean the sky is falling in Philly, right? Like it's been falling now for a little bit of time. Um, the Giants are now getting back Malik Neighbors. They're getting back. I guess they're not supposed to end up getting Kayvon Thibodeau back this week. I think that's supposed to. That might be a season-ending type of injury. Paused again. Oh, never mind. I thought that we were having a bad streak there. Um,
He jumped from his phone from this to Snapchat. That's why he's got the lag. Josh, if you go back into Discord, you're turning your phone camera off and back on.
all right. They're getting Devin Singletary back this week along with Malik Neighbors. So I think that they're going to end up having a good bounce back week against a Philly team that, quite simply, is not a good football team, which is why the Commanders are winning the division. I will say that every single episode. Damn.
By the way, Eagles are in the bag.
Yeah, I don't know.
Said the Eagles have this in the bag. The Giants are not winning. Take that crap and go shove it.
Well, I was not expecting you to agree with me because Vegas agrees with us. By the way, the Giants are only 1.5-point dogs. Mm. That's yeah. Now, Seahawks, Falcons. The Seahawks were another one of those teams at the beginning of the season that we were talking about as being holy crap. Kind of surprising. I had kind of bought into Seattle actually this year. I thought they would end up being in second. They're in the division. A little bit of a fall from grace, but they have a shot to rebound a little bit here against Atlanta. Are you guys giving Seattle any sort of shot to win this game?
I'm not. Atlanta just seems to be the team favorite. The game's in Atlanta right now. Seattle started 3-0 and have quickly fallen. The offense is not holding up. Geno Smith is not holding up. Atlanta's got a great defense. This has the Falcons written all over it.
Steelers, that's right. And remember, I mean, playing against the Steelers team that has TJ Watt, and that was Kirk's first game back from the Achilles injury. So like there was reason for him to lose that game in general. That game was pushed back a few weeks, and maybe they had the Seattle team this week, or I who'd they beat a couple weeks ago? No, they did beat. No, it wasn't Seattle. They had the Bucs. The Bucs was the one where they had five, and they had the Panthers there week 1, and then the Steelers there week 2. Like we just pushed everything back there a week. You can certainly make an argument that they could be undefeated right now. Offense is clicking. I know Josiah didn't want to admit the fact that Kirk Cousins was an upgrade at quarterback over Desmond Ridder. But I think we are there now to where we are in a safe enough space. We can all agree that it really wasn't close, and Josiah was probably there on the job. That's what I'm saying. Hey, but Justin Fields, that's a quarterback we're going to defend. um, Josiah, did you already give your pick on this one?
Yeah, I took the
That's right. You did. All right. Panthers Commanders. Lots of intrigue with this game, guys. Will Jaden Daniels have over 400 total yards of offense or 500? I guess is the better question here, right?
400. This has Washington written all over it. The Panthers are just a god awful football team. I like to call this the Ron Rivera rivalry game. These were his two teams. One had a legacy of a Super Bowl appearance with Cam. The other one was dog shit. Give me Washington in this one. I think Jalen has a fantastic game. I picked up Zach Ertz, put him on my fantasy starting spot for the tight end just off the waiver wire. That's how much faith I got in these Commanders.
Dalton. The unfortunate thing, man, Bryce Young is so bad that honestly, Dalton could be completing 45% of his passes, double the amount of interceptions over touchdowns, and have a passer rating there in like the 50s or 60s. And you were still going to get better quarterback play out of that than Bryce Young. Bryce Young is just not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Um, I mean, Will Levis is definitely giving him a run for his money as you know the worst quarterback to start in the 20s. But I mean, Bryce Young, dude, like at some point you kind of walk ass backwards into a win, even, and they couldn't walk ass backwards into a lead in a year. Like that is so incredibly. You almost have to try to do that, and that is so bad. Sam Darnold even had success over there. Like, what are we doing? It's crazy, crazy. By the way, I'm taking Jaden Daniels to get over 500 there, Josiah. But that's just for fantasy purposes, a little biased, and sports messiah. Vegas Raiders, fresh off of trading their number one wide receiver there, but they're not tanking. They're not tanking. They play a Rams team that's now coming off a bye, trying to get a little healthy. Looks like Cooper Kupp might be playing in this game. I mean, Sean McVay off a bye, pretty unbeatable, but they've also played really bad. What are your guys' initial thoughts on this one?
It's going to be the Rams. I do think Cooper Kupp plays. I think he's going to be used as more of a decoy though in this first game. It seems like he kind of rushed his injury back, but it's this game is the Rams written all over it. There's something going on in the Raiders locker room. The players went out. Tyler was talking about Crosby earlier. We know Adam just got traded, so the Raiders just don't have this one. Give me the Rams. Good point.
Mm. Yeah, the Rams are the easy side here, I think. I mean, there's definitely a chance that the Raiders have more fans there than the Rams just because at least they had a California presence before. But if I'm a Raider fan, you're not getting me to drive more than 10 minutes to go to the game. And so that means if I'm living on the outskirts of Vegas, I'm not going to a game. But I tend to trust Sean McVay. I tend to trust Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, guys coming off a bye. It's just kind of uh, It's normally a lock, especially if you're getting healthy. But Rams need to win. Rams need to win bad. I think Josiah and I both predicted them being in third this year. Believe. Um, Now this, I think the reason why they had that Panthers Commanders game and the Raiders Rams game in that 4 o'clock spot is because they already knew we were watching the Chiefs Niners game here in the 4:25 slot. Chiefs coming off a bye, Niners coming off a mini bye there after playing Thursday night last week. Impressive win there against Seattle there when you were a little shorthanded as well. The Niners, I believe Kyle Shanahan is 0-7 against Andy Reid as either an assistant or head coach. And this is a close game, man, and the Niners are favored by 1.5. It's in San Francisco. Who you got?
Give me the 49ers, guys. This game is in San Francisco. The team's getting healthier. Jordan Mason's going to be playing. The Chiefs are one of the worst 5-0 teams we've ever seen. I think we can all agree on that. They were a penalty away from losing to the Bengals, a penalty away from losing to the Falcons. They only beat the Ravens by half a toe. And you look at Patrick Mahomes' numbers; he's 50 for 50 right now in his touchdown interception ratio. The Chiefs just don't have it. I feel like this is going to be their first loss. The 49ers getting healthier. I know they've been off to a struggling start. They're coming off a tough loss to Arizona. They've had 10 days to prepare. I think they're ready for this.
Mm. Do you think that you said Chiefs? Yeah, and even Jordan Mason's kind of slowed down a little bit. I think that Christian McCaffrey being out is like the thing that I guess when I've heard people predict these games and then they predict the Niners like that. I know Josiah touched on it a little bit there. That seems to be something that's not really brought up. Is the Chiefs have won in blowouts against the Niners with McCaffrey. Like that happened last year even. That was with a weak wide receiver core there for Kansas City, and then again San Francisco had a really healthy year all in all besides Hufanga. But I think the Chiefs are honestly, I think they're playing better than San Francisco. I don't think that they're a bad 5-0 team. There are certain people on this screen that are a big fan of defense wins championships, and if the quarterback is playing really bad and they're 5-0 and they've played against some of these elite teams in the league, must mean something's working, right? Must mean something is leading to these wins, and I believe that's the defensive side, and I believe that's Andy Reid. Yeah, I really don't see a way where the Chiefs end up losing this game either. I don't think they'll go undefeated. I think they'll lose a dumb game at some point, but I only see 2 or 3 losses right now for the Chiefs on their schedule. Um, you said
That's
what?
scary. That's scary, only seeing 3 losses on their schedule for being such a horrible team this
I mean, they beat your team.
year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We got to play within the rules here. You know, they're the 2-time defending champs. Um, they've got the greatest quarterback of all time. They're playing for them. They've got the greatest head coach of all time. They're coaching for them. It's just gonna work for a while. Jets Steelers. Jets finally. They finally. I don't say that they surprisingly. They finally brought over Devontae Adams. And a trade there with the Raiders for a 3rd-round comp pick. Going up against a Steelers team that might be making a change at quarterback. Sounds more likely than not than moving over to Russell Wilson to see, hey, does he give you any sort of extra jolt? This is a two-part question. Do you see a jolt in the Steelers offense if Russ ends up starting? And who you got?
See, this is a really weird situation because even though Fields hasn't been putting up the quarterback numbers, he's been a good signal caller running this offense. How often do you see a young quarterback go to a 4-2 record and get pulled for a veteran who's coming off a knee injury? I just don't like this at all. I think it's really going to mess up the vibe that the offense had going. I think it's a terrible decision by Mike Tomlin to bench Justin Fields. You never bench your hot hand. So I think they're going to, and I think it's going to be costly. I think Rodgers and Adams are going to have a field day out there. Give me the Jets in Pittsburgh.
I don't like that, man. This is a tough game, I think, for all three of us here on the screen to end up calling. These are two division rivals here for for our teams. And I don't know if maybe we're picking the game as such, but I'm also going with the Jets in this game. I think the Jets defense isn't as good as Pittsburgh's defense, but I don't think that gap is nearly as wide as the Jets offense and the Steelers offense. I actually don't think that Justin Fields has played well this year. I've seen 4 games of his. Yeah, 4 games of his now, and none of those was I sitting there going, "Wow, what a play by Justin Fields." Now I don't think Russell Wilson's going to do anything different either. But that's what happens when you have New England's. I mean, sorry, the Steelers' offense. They're around you. It's just another example of a defensive head coach. As much as I love Mike Tomlin, it's just another defensive head coach that's completely tone deaf to what today's football represents. I talked about it on Wednesday. The idea that you can go from benching Justin Fields, starting Russ, and then benching Russ a couple weeks later to start Justin Fields. No, no, you're not supposed to be doing that. When you have 2 presidents, you have no presidents. When you have 2 captains for a boat, you don't have two. You don't have a captain. Like it doesn't make sense for you to have 2 leaders there at the helm. There's only one ball. If you're going to destroy the locker room by starting Russell Wilson, which reports are, people aren't really liking the move there within the locker room. You're going to have to lay in the bed that you're laying in, or that you're making. That's at least my thought on that. Um, yeah, I think the Jets end up winning by quite a bit, which is good because I got to work there on Monday morning, so I'd like to go to bed early. Ravens Bucs Monday Night Football, one of the marquee games here again of the week for the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I feel like they've had a lot here over the past few weeks playing Kansas City there week 1, the Cowboys a few weeks later, the Bengals, the Commanders, and now the Bucs. I mean, you can say what you want about the Bucs. If you want to doubt them, I'll take the stock. I think Tampa Bay is a really, really good team this year. Um, this game, I believe, is a 3.5 point spread there in favor of Baltimore. Feel like this has a backdoor cover type of feel to it. But what are you guys thinking about this game?
I've been very high on Baker Mayfield, Tampa this season. I've made that very clear. Last season too. Lamar is playing out of his mind right now. He beats NFC teams. He does it well, but he's not invincible. Losses are going to happen on this Ravens schedule when you least expect it. The Chiefs one was one you expected to lose, but not that close. The Raiders was a complete shock. I think this could be the game that's a complete shock. The game's in Tampa. It's prime time. I like what they're doing. Our secondary has not been able to click together just yet. I think Mayfield might pick us apart. He's not just another quarterback coming to play Baltimore. This is a guy who played in the AFC North. He knows what we're capable of. He knows what to look for. I think Mayfield's going to have a great game. Give me the Buccaneers.
Boy, so I gotta be the tiebreaker here. I'm also going Baltimore. I think in Tampa, like I said, I think that they're going to get a backdoor cover there where Baltimore's up by 10 points for a lot of the game, and then Tampa, ends up scoring a touchdown there with about 2 minutes left or whatever, and then Baltimore just kind of nails it out. But I do like Baltimore overall. I think offensively, they're just playing at another level right now, and I don't think that Tampa can match them score for score. While I believe in Baker, I don't think that he's at the elite status, and that's where Lamar is at. Defensively, I can understand Josiah the worries there, but you did just hold the Commanders, who were the only team that was scoring more points a week than you. You held them there to 21. So while yeah, the defense hasn't been playing great, you got to at least take a win there out of last week, slowing down one of the more high flying offenses in football. Um, Lamar also plays in prime time really well. Not that Baker doesn't, but I feel like Lamar has a lot of big moments in these big television games. So I'm also taking Baltimore in this one.
See, they held the Commanders' offense last week, but now the highest scoring offense this week is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you're asking a tall task on the defense to come in there and do it again.
Yeah. Now, last game here, Chargers Cardinals. Not gonna lie, I thought this was on Sunday, but it's Monday Night Football. Um, Boy, I mean, both these teams have been surprising in their own ways. Do you guys have a strong lean here?
Give me the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh's defense has quietly been having a really good season. The offense doesn't have to score much for this team to win. It's kind of like the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Last I heard for Arizona, Marvin Harrison Jr. was out of the special jersey. I think he's been cleared to play this week. Getting him back is going to be great. But I think just all around, it's the better team.
They already came out. That's why he played bad last week. I really, really, really want to take Arizona. You know what? Fuck it. I'm taking Arizona in this game. I defend Kyler Murray a lot more than I probably should, especially when these video games are coming out. You have a huge, um, what should I say, black cloud always going over you, saying that you only play video games. You don't, pay attention there to the play calls, and then you take the step of sponsoring. But whatever. The Cardinals, though, offensively, it's been a little hit or miss, but they've got their tight end McBride back and healthy as of last week. Marvin Harrison should end up playing this week. I think they're supposed to be without James Conner. But I think defensively they're going to be able to slow down what the Chargers have. J.K. Dobbins has slowed down massively from the first 2-3 weeks of the season. It's almost like he's not the top running back that he thinks that he is. That's just I'm a salty Bengal fan on the J.K. Dobbins Ravens stuff. I guess I didn't want it to end. I always wanted him to hold out there in camp. But the Chargers definitely kind of came back to earth a little bit. Denver's already kind of taken over there. They just don't have a lot right now. They're in rebuild mode. I understand that Arizona's in that same spot. They played some good teams really well. I think that this could probably be Marvin Harrison's national TV coming out party. But comment down below your picks. Any sort of big spread swings that you're taking here? Any coaches getting fired before coming back over to America? Maybe. I don't know. Who Dey? Let's get a dub. Let's keep Jamar. Let's sign him.